Our next guest goes even further. He says Iran is the principal danger in all of the Middle East. Joining us tonight, James Woolsey, former director of the Central Intelligence Agency and now chairman of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Good to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
This assessment on Iran, apparently it is the minority view amongst the president's advisors, or he has simply overridden all of his advisors. What do you make, first of all, of sending a message directly to the Iranian people when this president hasn't sought approval or consensus with Congress or with the American people themselves?
I don't think it's appropriate at all, the way he did it. It sounded like he was in a Chicago City Council meeting, and he's talking to the other party, and he says, look, you've got hardliners, I've got hardliners, but we can get together and get something done. He seems to be pretending that he's still doing Chicago politics, whereas he's talking to an institution, the Iranian state, that really, more than anything else, wants to destroy us and Israel, and they're not kidding.
They're not kidding, and it is as if the national security team for this president is utterly in denial as to the threat or the experience that we've had as a nation with Iran, which is responsible for an estimated third of the casualties that we've taken in Iraq itself.
Well, one of the more unattractive words that gets used in these issues all the time these days is narrative. The narrative is, from their point of view, that we killed bin Laden, things are going well, we're on top of all the terrorism issues, and we can solve everything that's left by having a nuclear agreement with Iran. I don't think any of this is true, and if something departs from it, something that makes it look as if terrorism is not taken care of, it gets sort of interpreted away or slid over or redefined. They've now dropped Iran and Hezbollah off the list that is submitted by the Director of National Intelligence,
right,
Jim Clapper, to the Senate. I guess Hezbollah and Iran aren't terrorist groupings anymore.
It's important to...
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and Jim, it's also important to remind folks that was an early Iranian demand for negotiation itself.
Yes.
And it appears they have succeeded as the deadline approaches. Let me turn to another aspect of this administration's foreign policy when it comes to denial. It seems that they are resistant to Putin's aggression, whether it be in Ukraine or eastern Ukraine. They simply don't address it. They don't speak to it, and therefore it doesn't exist in the national liberal media. It is a peculiar time in which we live.
Putin, without the Nazi racism, is behaving pretty much exactly, not a little bit, but exactly the way Hitler did after he became chancellor in 1933, in the late 30s, by going to supposed assistance of people like the Sudeten Germans who are trapped in another country. Hitler expanded and expanded and expanded, and that was his mode of operations, and it's Putin's. We really need a Churchill, and I'm afraid we've got a Chamberlain.
Well, in the Middle East, a group claiming loyalty to the Islamic State beheaded 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians, as you know, in Libya last month. You met with a displaced Archbishop of Mosul. You know very well what is happening to even the artifacts of Christianity in the region, as well as those who are the Christians themselves and the way they're being treated. 300 estimated captives of the Islamic State, amongst those who have been murdered.
It's horrible, and I think that whether it's ISIS, Daesh, you call it now, or Al-Qaeda, it's brutal. And I think we are looking at ISIS or Daesh trying to expand their caliphate the way the caliphate was expanded in Muhammad's time and just after his death, and radically expand it into a powerful state. Whereas Iran, the reason I think it is more of a problem is that Iran is a very short step away from having nuclear weapons to go along with its medium to long-range ballistic missiles. And that puts us at risk, although we have good friends, Israel and others, in the Middle East. It is even more interesting to a lot of Americans if we are within range of Iranian nuclear capability.
James Woolsey, always good to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.